hello. Thanks so much for coming back to Focus Atlanta. Again, I am your host, Keisha Lancelin. We appreciate your time. We're going to close out the show with something pretty good for all of us who are out in the business world, and it is the Woke Coach. I'm here with Zena Hodges.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Now, you know, at a time when sometimes being woke can be seen as a negative thing, how is it that you are able to tell businesses and tell your clients how important DEI really is?
Absolutely. You know, when we think about what it means to be woke, it really means that each of us are just the sum of our own lived experiences. If we haven't had an experience, we don't know that it exists. If someone asks you what happens at a powwow, you haven't been, you don't know, right? And so that's just your lived experience. And nobody has the quintessential lived experience, right? So it's imperative that we awaken to the experiences of other people, especially in a work context when we're trying to work collaboratively to reach outcomes and ensure that we are successful businesses.
Now, when we talk about inclusion, often people only think of women, or they only think of, African Americans. That, it seems to be that you get put in kind of a pocket of sorts. How is it that you're able to get your clients to understand how inclusive it really is, how big it really is?
Yeah, really, this work is rooted in self-awareness. I find that the more people can understand about themselves, the better equipped they are to understand other people. One thing about each of us is that we are so overwhelmingly complex. You talked about all the identities, and no matter who you are, you have so many aspects of your identity. And if we can understand that if I can have a bunch of aspects of my identity, every person that I'm coming into contact with has a lot of aspects of their identity. And so it's my responsibility as a leader, as a manager, as a colleague, to be curious in a way that is helpful to the process and really understand that I need to know more about my colleagues as I try to partner with them.
So for business owners and, again, managers, people who, are in the day-to-day, I guess, struggle of trying to manage different personalities, different types of people, different, those things. Are there any, ground tips, like, on the surface level, some things that they should be thinking about?
Absolutely. One of the things that I do in my work is I never convene a group of people without some group norms or group agreements, right? And I think the same things can be true for business. What are your norms? What are your agreements? What are your core values? What are you all collaborating toward? Why are you there, right? And if people can really understand what it is that we're moving towards every day, what our outcomes are, if they feel included in that process and they can tell you, well, you came up with this policy, but it doesn't necessarily suit me because of X, Y, Z, it creates a different conversation. And I think a lot of times what happens is, as business leaders, we have to be okay being transparent about what's happening. We have to be transparent, and we have to be willing to communicate even when it doesn't look so great.
Oh, I love that. The willingness to communicate. That in itself sometimes can be groundbreaking, right? The willingness to kind of be vulnerable and say, hey, I don't exactly know how to do this, but can you assist? Or hey, I don't exactly know, what this feels like. Can you give me information? That kind of back and forth, I think, often gets us over a hump.
Absolutely. There's a lot of power in the words, I don't know, right? Because sometimes we, in organizations and businesses, hierarchy is always at play. And somehow we've conflated like hierarchy and power with level of intelligence and understanding. Realistically speaking, if you're a business owner, if you're a good business owner, you hire people that are actually, in fact, smarter than you so that they can help you and your business thrive, right? So essentially, it's okay to say that you don't know. It doesn't make you look less than, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I can't let you close out then without giving us a website where people can go and tap in and learn a little bit more if, in fact, this is an area they need improvement.
Absolutely. If folks want to learn more about me, I just wrote a book. You want to read that book, you can visit me at www.thewokecoach.com.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Wonderful to meet you too. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I know, everybody hopes that they have a Zena in their life, but sometimes you don't. And so you just need a little reference guide. And sometimes that's a book. Sometimes that's a website. Take the opportunity to learn more. And thanks, guys, for tuning in to this week's episode of Focus Atlanta. I hope to see you next week here on WEPA.